What if I told you the shooting at Rihanna's home might not have been random at all? Not a coincidence, not just a disturbed individual, but something far more calculated. Because right now, people online are asking a question that's getting harder to ignore. Who actually benefits when something like this happens? Katt Williams has once again pulled back the curtain on one of the darkest and most unsettling conversations in entertainment. And now the internet is circling around a chilling question that refuses to fade. Who is really behind the shooting at Rihanna's home? As speculation spreads like wildfire across social media, many people are no longer willing to accept this as just another frightening celebrity security incident. To some, it feels deliberate, calculated. To others, it feels symbolic, like something meant to send a message far beyond the walls of a single property. And then there are those who take it even further, suggesting that what happened might somehow be tied to deeper power struggles unfolding behind the scenes in the music industry. A world where influence is currency, silence is protection, and control often exists far away from the public eye. What made this story especially disturbing from the very beginning was not just the alleged attack itself, but one haunting detail that changed everything. Her children were inside. That single fact transformed the emotional weight of the entire situation. In an instant, this stopped being ordinary celebrity gossip or another shocking headline designed to dominate the news cycle for a few hours. It became something far more real. A home, a mother, children, gunfire, panic, fear. The kind of moment where time seems to slow down, where every second stretches, and where safety, the illusion most people assume comes with fame, suddenly feels fragile and exposed. And hovering over all of it is a question that still has not been answered in a way that satisfies people. Was this truly random, or was there something colder, more deliberate, and far more calculated behind it? Reports described a chaotic and rapidly unfolding police response, the kind of scene where urgency fills the air and every detail matters. Dispatch audio captured fragments of confusion and coordination, officers attempting to piece together what had just happened, tracking movement, identifying vehicles, trying to regain control of a situation that had already spiraled. According to those reports, a woman armed with an AR-15-style rifle allegedly opened fire on the property before fleeing the scene. Authorities later traced a white Tesla believed to be connected to the incident, eventually leading to an arrest. Investigators reportedly discovered bullet holes scattered across the property, etched into the gate, embedded in the walls, even striking an RV parked in the driveway. Physical evidence of something violent, something intentional, something that should never have reached that point. And yet, despite the severity of the situation, there were no reported injuries. On paper, that might sound like relief, but for many people it only made the story feel even more surreal. Because when something like this happens, when someone allegedly gets that close, when shots are fired, when a family is inside, and no one is physically harmed, it creates a strange kind of tension. A feeling that this was not just about destruction, but about presence, about making something known. About crossing a line and proving that it could be crossed. The idea that someone could allegedly reach the home of one of the most recognizable women in the world, while her children were inside, shattered a quiet assumption people often carry. That fame comes with protection. In that moment, that illusion cracked. Then the story took an even stranger turn. Clips began circulating online, videos that were allegedly posted by the suspect in the months leading up to the shooting. They were not calm. They were not rational. They were chaotic, emotional, and deeply unsettling. In them, she appeared to accuse Rihanna of witchcraft, of spiritual manipulation, of trying to harm her in ways that felt disconnected from reality. To many observers, those videos painted a tragic picture of obsession mixed with paranoia and mental instability. It seemed at first glance like the explanation might be painfully simple. One person, lost in delusion, acting out something that only made sense inside their own mind. But for others, especially those who already distrust official narratives and media framing, that explanation felt too easy, too clean, too convenient. And that is the exact moment when the story stopped being just an incident and started becoming a mystery. Because once doubt enters the conversation, it doesn't stay quiet. People began asking questions, not just about what happened, but why? Why this house? Why now? Why in this way? Was it truly just the isolated act of one unstable individual, or could there have been something or someone behind the scenes, influencing, guiding, or even exploiting that instability? And almost immediately, one name began surfacing again and again in online discussions: Jay-Z. To be absolutely clear, what follows is speculation that has circulated online, not confirmed fact. But the internet does not operate like a courtroom. It operates on momentum, emotion, pattern recognition, real or imagined. Once a theory starts gaining traction, it spreads fast, fueled by curiosity, distrust, and the human instinct to connect dots, even when those dots are far apart. Some voices online began suggesting that Rihanna may know things about the inner workings of the industry, things that powerful figures would prefer to keep hidden. Others claimed she has been quietly creating distance from certain relationships tied to her early career. Some even attempted to connect the timing of the shooting to broader conversations happening online about celebrity scandals, sealed documents, and long-standing rumors involving elite networks and hidden influence. In that version of the story, Rihanna is no longer seen as a random target. She becomes something else entirely, someone who allegedly knows too much, someone whose presence carries weight, someone whose name alone is powerful enough that any incident connected to her would instantly dominate headlines, shift attention, and redirect public focus. There is no verified evidence that proves any of these claims, but in a world where trust is already fragile, the absence of proof does not always stop belief. In fact, sometimes it strengthens it. Part of the reason these theories have taken hold so strongly is because this is not the first time people have looked at Rihanna's journey through the industry and felt a sense of unease beneath the surface. For years, conversations have resurfaced about how young she was when she first entered the American music business. Interviews, stories, and retellings describe how quickly everything changed once she arrived in New York. To some, it is a classic success story, a moment where raw talent meets opportunity. But to others, it feels more complicated, more intense, more controlled. The image itself is almost cinematic. A teenager far from home, stepping into rooms filled with powerful adults who understand the system in ways she does not yet. Conversations happening, decisions being made, futures being shaped in a matter of hours. From that point forward, the mythology grows. Because when people look back at Rihanna's rise, they do not just see talent, they see structure, they see influence, they see timing, pressure, and unseen hands guiding outcomes behind closed doors. And that is where the deeper question begins to echo again. What really happens behind the scenes in the entertainment industry? It is a question that has never fully gone away, and one that voices like Katt Williams have continued to push into the spotlight. For years, he has argued that the industry is anything but random, that when major events happen, especially the kind that feel chaotic, shocking, or unexplained, there is often something else happening beneath the surface. Something quieter, something financial, something strategic. He has suggested that when something appears to just happen, the real question people should be asking is simple but powerful: who benefits? And once that question enters the conversation, everything starts to feel heavier. Because if something creates fear, attention, headlines, or distraction, someone somewhere may gain from that shift. If something redirects public focus away from one issue and onto another, someone benefits. If chaos creates opportunity, leverage, or silence, someone profits. That does not prove anything about this situation, but it does explain why people keep looking deeper, keep questioning, and keep refusing to accept simple answers. Because once you begin to see the industry through that lens, nothing feels accidental anymore. And that is what makes this story so difficult to ignore. That idea on its own does not prove anything about Rihanna's situation. It doesn't confirm intent, it doesn't expose a hidden hand, and it certainly doesn't replace verified facts. But what it does explain, very clearly, is why so many people refuse to dismiss this story as meaningless or random. Because once you start asking a different kind of question, the entire perspective shifts. If an artist becomes a liability, who profits? If fear, scandal, silence, or confusion suddenly create more leverage than stability ever could, who benefits from that shift? These are not comfortable questions, but they are powerful ones. And they are exactly the kind of questions that keep stories like this alive long after the headlines fade. Once people begin looking at the industry through that lens, nothing feels simple anymore. Every headline feels layered. Every explanation feels incomplete. Every event begins to resemble a pie. Of a much larger, more complicated design. For years, Rihanna's connection to powerful figures in music has been a subject of quiet scrutiny. Conversations, rumors, and theories have surrounded her early career, her relationships, and her position within the industry's inner circles. Some of those claims have been firmly denied. Others were never proven at all. and some were amplified over time by bloggers, live stream commentators, and individuals who claimed insider knowledge. But whether those stories were true, exaggerated, or entirely false, they became embedded in the larger mythology of celebrity culture. That mythology has a way of shaping how people interpret new events. It creates a background noise, a lingering sense that there is always more beneath the surface than what is publicly shown. And that is the exact environment this incident entered. Not a quiet space, not a patient one, but a world already primed to question everything and ready to build narratives long before facts have time to settle. Then the story took another turn, one that pushed it even further into the realm of speculation. Some online commentators began connecting the situation not only to Jay-Z, but also to Beyoncé. This shift was largely fueled by the suspect's alleged statements about witchcraft and spiritual conflict. And from there, the conversation escalated quickly. The internet has a long history of attaching occult symbolism, ritualistic meaning, and hidden spiritual narratives to celebrity imagery, performances, and personal beliefs. Beyoncé, as one of the most visible and influential artists in the world, has frequently found herself at the center of those discussions. That does not validate the claims, but it does explain why her name was quickly pulled into the narrative once those elements appeared in the story. For those already inclined to believe the darkest possibilities, that connection was enough to reinforce existing suspicions. The narrative begins to assemble itself almost automatically. The suspect accuses Rihanna of something supernatural. Rihanna has long-standing ties within the industry. Powerful figures are already under scrutiny online. And suddenly, every old rumor, every past controversy, every unresolved question gets pulled back into the spotlight. This is how these stories evolve. One post becomes 10, 10 become 100, 100 become a dominant narrative, and before long, speculation starts to sound like certainty, even when it is. What makes this situation especially unsettling is the fact that multiple layers of reality are unfolding at the same time. On one level, there is a very real and very serious alleged act of violence, a frightening incident involving a home, a family, and a potential threat. On another level, there is a deeply rooted public belief that those with power rarely reveal the full truth. And on yet another level, there is the internet's constant drive to connect every event to a larger hidden system of influence. These layers don't exist separately. They overlap, blur together, and feed into one another. But beneath all of that, there is something even more revealing. The reason so many people are willing to believe extreme or unsettling theories is not just because of the story itself, it's because of a growing lack of trust. Trust in media, trust in corporations, trust in the entertainment industry, trust in institutions that are supposed to clarify truth, not complicate it. That trust has been eroding for years. And now, when something shocking happens around someone as globally recognized as Rihanna, people no longer ask only, "What happened?" They ask something deeper, something heavier. What aren't we being told? That question is what gives this story its weight. It's what keeps it circulating, evolving, and refusing to disappear. There are still many who believe this was the isolated act of one individual, driven by obsession, paranoia, or delusion. And that may very well be the reality. There are others who believe that even if that is true, the broader context still matters, that powerful systems can benefit from chaos, even when they didn't directly create it. And then there are those who see something more intentional in all of this, something designed, something symbolic, something meant to send a message or shift attention in a very specific direction. At that point, the line between fact and interpretation begins to blur. What remains clear, however, is this: a deeply unsettling incident reportedly took place. A home connected to Rihanna was allegedly targeted. Children were reportedly inside. A suspect was arrested. And within hours, the story expanded beyond the event itself, transforming into a much larger narrative about power, influence, fear, and the unseen mechanisms of celebrity culture. Whether any of the darker theories hold truth is a separate question, one that may never be fully answered. But the reason people continue returning to his story is not just because of Rihanna herself. It's because it taps into something that already exists beneath the surface of public perception. A belief that the music industry protects some while discarding others. A belief that fame carries invisible costs. A belief that public narratives are often shaped, managed, and sometimes manipulated long before they reach the audience. That is why a single incident like this can create such a powerful reaction. Because for many people, it isn't just about one moment. It's about what that moment represents. The possibility that behind the polished image of fame, behind billion-dollar brands, award shows, and carefully crafted interviews, there exists a system that operates quietly, strategically, and often without accountability. A system where loyalty can outweigh truth, where profit can take priority over people, where silence can be negotiated, and where stepping out of line may come with consequences that are never fully visible to the public. Maybe that perspective is shaped by suspicion. Maybe it comes from pattern recognition, or maybe it's a combination of both. But either way, stories like this keep that tension alive. They keep people questioning. They keep people watching. Because even if every rumor connected to this case eventually fades or falls apart, the underlying distrust will remain. The public has reached a point where simple explanations no longer feel complete. People want more. They want motives, connections, patterns, names, context. They want to understand not just what happened, but why it happened and who stands to gain from it. And until those questions feel answered, stories like this will continue to spread, growing far beyond the facts themselves. So was this truly the isolated act of one deeply disturbed individual? Was it a tragic but straightforward case that the internet transformed into something far larger than reality? Or is there a deeper struggle beneath the surface? One involving power, history, influence, and forces that rarely reveal themselves openly. For now, the truth remains buried beneath layers of reporting, reaction, speculation, and emotion. But one thing is undeniable. This story has once again forced people to look at the entertainment industry not as a flawless dream factory, but as a world where fame, fear, money, and mystery are constantly colliding. And that is exactly why so many people still cannot look away. If you made it this far, you already see how deep this goes. So tell me what you think in the comments. Was this random, or is there something bigger behind it? And if you want more breakdowns like this, where we separate facts from speculation and connect the dots others won't, make sure you subscribe, drop a like, and stay tuned. Because the deeper you look, the more this industry starts to reveal itself.